Hi everybody, my name is Kathy and I'm doing a new cooking series called Kathy's Homemade with Love. And how I came across this series is that I really have a passion for food and I love cooking. And I had a lot of friends and family members always asking me to write down a recipe or two, and I thought, instead of writing it down, why don't I just make a video series for you guys? I thought this would be easier, but maybe actually this is more difficult. A lot of it is going to be meal prepping because I do cook for myself and I just hate really throwing away a lot of food. Do you guys ever feel like when you go to the grocery store by the end of the week or even after a couple days, your vegetables and some of your meat has just gone bad and you have to throw it away? So try to do a little bit of meal prepping ahead of time on your grocery day. When the groceries come in, wash your vegetables and try to divide things out and try to make a menu prior to starting your rest of the week. So today's recipe, we'll get started, is going to be turkey meatballs and couscous. It's my version of a Middle Eastern tabbouleh. It's not typical, but it's just kind of how I like to eat it. The next scene I shot, I skipped over a lot of the chopping of the parsley because you're going to do finely chopped parsley, a little bit of onions, green onions, red peppers, and lemon juice, about a tablespoon of it. Don't go too crazy with it. And then the next scene you'll see where I'm just putting the couscous in there. So let's get started, okay? So I used equal parts of chicken broth and couscous. That I did have to measure, and I just did about half a cup of it to make the couscous earlier, and I put it into a pot or a pan. You're going to make the couscous come to a boil, the chicken broth come to a boil, and then you're going to stick couscous in it and then just cover up the lid and just let the residual heat cook the rest of the couscous. So basically just that's enough for one person or maybe 2 meals. And I put lemon juice in it so it has a little saltiness to it. Taste your food. How much salt does it need? So since there was no salt in this, let's put a little salt. Not much. I would venture to say half a teaspoon, not even. Lots of pepper. And because I am taking this to work, I am not going to need regular garlic powder. I actually want powder, we're not going to need regular garlic because it's a little too strong. So I'm going to use garlic powder instead. And that is probably 1 teaspoon of it. I like a little onion powder in mine. And use good olive oil. I'm using one that has a Mediterranean garlic, kind of a mixture already in there. Put a little bit in, stir it around. Look at the texture, of course taste it. Delicious. It does not need any more salt, but I like cheese in mine. So I'm going to bring the cutting board back. Sorry if it's dirty in the picture. Do apologize. And I have some really good Greek feta cheese. And I do like that kind of diced into little cubes and squares, enough to make a salad out of it. And voila. And because this is just for me, I'm just kind of tasting it as I'm going along. If I was making it for a crowd, of course, it would be a little bit different. I'd be using different forks. But it's delicious, and that will be perfect with my turkey meatballs. I'll see you in a little bit. Okay, so we're going to do the turkey meatball part of the recipe, and you know that I had leftover parsley, I had some onions and red pepper left over. Normally if you don't have these things, it doesn't matter. You do need turkey and breadcrumbs just to bind it, but if you didn't have all the other ingredients, don't worry about it. It's not like tried true. You have to put these things in it. This is just what I use. This is what I have in my pantry right now, and I want to use it up because parsley doesn't last that long in the refrigerator, neither do onions or green peppers. So let's start the turkey recipe, okay? Okay, so we're back to chopping up the parsley leftover that I had. Just use it all up, stems and all included, waste not, want not. This is going in a meatball, so it does not have to be pretty, but it does have to be fine. And so you're going to cut it all the way down to a pulp. You could use a food processor for this. I don't feel like getting it out and making a whole mess and more dishes for me to do. So your 2 hands and your knife are really more than you realize. It's a great tool to have in the kitchen. So this is going to be a really fine mince, just like you did with the couscous. All the way down. And I should have had my larger cutting board, but I just washed it. I can make do. I can always make do. And that's what cooking's all about. Have fun, make do. Why complicate your life when you don't have to, right? So it gets all chopped down, enough for a meatball to handle. And again, you're putting all your vegetables in first because you don't want to be touching turkey and then handling vegetables. And look at the state of my onion, right? But I don't use all my onion. Again, it's just me. So I like to cut little wedges, and it doesn't have to be pretty how you cut it. This is just diced really fine too. I don't want any chunks going along in my meatballs. You can do a couple things with it. You could actually cook this ahead of time and cook vegetables inside your meatball. But I'm going to bake these meatballs in the oven, and it's going to have a little honey glaze on it because I just feel like it. But there's no right or wrong. You do you. That's what it's all about. Let's dice this down really, really fine into nothingness. And you guys can all see my video knife working skills, right? Oh, so nice. But we're just chopping this down all the way into a fine, fine disc. And that is going to go into your meatball mixture. And I had a little bit of the red pepper left that I didn't use all of. And of course, all these vegetables were washed and taken care of. Not the onions, but all my parsley was washed, and I put it into a food spinner when I first bought it. I do highly suggest doing the same when you are coming back from the grocery store. That'll save you a little time when you are cooking. You don't need a lot of things in the kitchen, but if you do, utilize them. But like I said, the best bet will be your hands and a knife and a cutting board. And yes, I have it all. I have the food processors and the little mixers and the steamers and a little panini press, but I tend to use my knife and hands the most. So this is going to be a really fine dice, just like the other ones. You don't want anything too chunky in this. And I could speed up some of this too, and I just might when I am editing, because you don't need to see me dicing all this into a fine little thing. Okay, that's it with the vegetables. Let's put some turkey in it. Okay, we're going to put some turkey in it. It doesn't matter what brand that you're using. I'm not here to promote any brands, just whatever is in the grocery store, and that is fresh. Fresh food makes a huge difference. So let's put a little seasoning in it. I am going to put about 3 teaspoons of salt. You do have to put a lot. I'm going to put 4 actually. We're going to put some onion powder. And I would say that's probably about 1 teaspoon. Same with your garlic powder. I'm running low on it, but about 1 teaspoon of that. And definitely some black pepper. And you're going to be a little liberal with this. It is a meatball recipe, so meatballs do need some seasoning, or it can come out very bland. I had some breadcrumbs, and a recipe called for about, I believe, 2 tablespoons of it. I don't know if I'm going to use, well, maybe about a tablespoon and a half. And again, these recipes are not spot on. Let's crack an egg into that. Hold on a second. And we are going to use our hands in a little bit to form meatballs, but just in the beginning process, I think I would like to use a fork. But nothing will beat using your hands. Now, if you're unsure about whether you put enough salt in this, you can actually take a small amount of it, put it in the microwave, and cook it just for 30 seconds, definitely under a minute, and taste it. If it is bland, go ahead and add a little bit more salt to this. I think we have enough salt in this to start out with because I am going to put a glaze on it afterwards anyways. So let's mix this up just a little bit more. And the rest is going to be mixed with my hands to form meatballs. I'll be right back, okay? So I formed some of the meatballs off camera. You didn't need to see me make it, but basically you're going to make a nice little round. Some of these do look a little bit out of size. It's not a matter of being perfect. It's just a matter of making it taste good. Believe me, tasting good is much more important than it being perfect. So I'm going to bake these, and normally you would, or often, you would actually put it in a frying pan to get a little crust and color on it. But turkey meatballs I find are a little on the drier side, so I find just doing one bake is just more than enough. I'm washing my hand in the video, sorry, because whenever you touch turkey or chicken, you have to wash. Even if you don't touch turkey or chicken, you should still wash your hand quite often. And so you're going to bake this in the oven. The recipe called for about 25 to 30 minutes, but I did tell you earlier that I'm putting a glaze on this. So about 15 minutes into it, then we're going to take it out and put a honey glaze on. So let's get the glaze going. Okay, so I think it's time to put some glaze on. About 15 minutes have passed so far. And I would probably say that is, oh, you guys guess, half a cup of honey. And let's see how much soy sauce. Tablespoon of soy sauce. Again, it's just kind of guessing here and there what to put into it. It doesn't have to be exact science. And let me get something to stir it with. I'll be right back. The recipe also calls for something a little spicy in it. Don't go too crazy with it if you don't like spices. I actually don't like too much of it myself, but a little hint of something's not going to kill us. Oh gosh, just a teaspoon at best. Not even half a teaspoon. Go ahead and mix that through. And I do want you to taste your sauce. The reason being is that it should taste a little salty, tangy, and sweet all at the same time. If it does not, add a little bit more soy or a little bit more honey on there, soy sauce or honey, because your end result will pretty much taste like how this is here. So if this is bland, doesn't have enough salt to it, then your meatballs are bland. And if this is too sweet, then guess what? Your meatballs are going to be too sweet. So mix that through and taste it. It is delicious to my taste. Again, yours might be a little bit different. Let's take out the meatballs and glaze some of it. Okay, so let's check on the meatballs. I think they're done. And yes, they are. I cook these at around 350 temperature in a toaster oven. I really didn't want to go into a bigger oven for a small amount of meatballs. Like I said, it's just for one person cooking, and for roughly around 25 to 30 minutes. Turkey cooks kind of fast, especially when it's ground, so you adjust it to your time temperature on your oven. So let's put one on a plate, taste it, and see how it tastes. Okay, so let's taste the meatball. I have a feeling it's going to be piping hot. absolutely delicious. That soy sauce and honey ratio that we put on was just enough. And we didn't go too much salt in the beginning of it because I knew I was going to put a soy sauce vinaigrette or a glaze on top of it later. Let me taste a little bit of this couscous. And it's absolutely perfect. Good combination. So this is my video series. And if you like the video, push like on the bottom of it. And I'll see you next time. Thank you guys. Bye.